Hello everyone. Very, very lazy today. We are having our second winter storm of January. And in South Dakota, we do have weather comparable to Alaska, is what I have heard. And okay, let's bring this in a little closer, I guess. All right, there we go. I'm just bumming around the house. We had our first winter storm. We were having single-digit weather already, like 9 degrees above zero in December. But now in January, we're having the snow. So we was predicted 6 to 10 inches. I still hadn't bought a shovel. I'm trying to catch up from, what was happening with me back in November. I haven't told you everything because, let's just say, I was still feeling something in October, but then in November it seemed to turn to attack, and that is when I started having the dream that my apartment was empty. I was uncharacteristically anxious and afraid, like I used to be when I was younger. But I've been through a lot, and I've learned how to stay calm. And I've also learned to live primarily by faith, believe it or not, and not by fear. I make affirmations that everything is okay and everything is going to work out for me. Now, I'm signed up for DoorDash, so I knew I could go out and do some DoorDash. I could work to catch up. And it's taken a couple of months for me to figure out how to actually manage the bills I have and then what my new plan was going to be. But I'm suffering another little setback now with the weather. And so I didn't have a shovel and I was using a broom. But I know that I'm entering a luckier period. I'm feeling better. I'm told that I'm looking better, I'm looking more refreshed, I'm looking more relaxed. I have caught up on my rest. And after sweeping the driveway on Sunday, I decided to call Monday morning and ask for a shovel. So I went to the office and I got the shovel and I shoveled over 6 inches of snow in my driveway so that I could get out. Now I had gone to bed at 7:30. At 8:30 they announced school is closing. I didn't know. I was in bed sleeping. I didn't check it when I got up in the morning. I got in the car and I drove away. I was excited about working 4 days that week with a relatively easy assignment, one child. I was truly blessed. I was truly protected. I never got stuck. My car's low to the ground. I made it all the way there, even into the parking lot. Nobody was there. I started to get stuck when I tried to pull up completely into the space. And then as I started to back out, I'm praying, please, don't let me get stuck. Now, the snow was fluffy. That helped. But the streets were not plowed. And, I was kind of having to maneuver or try to follow whatever tracks were already there. And snow was hitting the undercarriage of my car. But, I made it all the way back home. So I venture out again the next day, and the back roads are still not plowed. So I call the school, and the principal answers. And I said, I'm on my way, but back roads aren't plowed. And he said, well, they decided to call school off again today. Now, when I checked it the night before I went to bed, it said 2-hour late start. So I slept in until 8:30. I got ready. I left at 9:30 to be there by 10. And I'm calling the principal, and he's telling me we're still just not going to bother with it. School is canceled. So I was only at the end of my street here, so I turned around before I even got on the freeway and came back home. So I just have to have, again, faith that at least I'm going to have 2 days. I'm making a lot more money at this job than I was back when I had my mobile home, and I was working 5 days a week, several weeks out of the month, and I still couldn't catch up on my bills. Plus I had a car that was falling apart. So it was just everything falling apart. But now I was going through my second Saturn return, and when I bought the house I had the end in mind, and it was just Saturn telling me, you have to let it go. It's going to sell because you picked a really nice mobile home. And so when the season was right, the snow had melted, I sold the house. And so then I learned some new things. Put my money in a mutual fund, not a mutual fund, another IRA, another retirement account on Capital One Investing. Used to be Share Builder. E-Trade, yeah. And these investments, because I had been studying, were paying me a monthly dividend. So that was paying for my internet. However, it takes time for your money to grow. And as I was watching it grow fairly well, I didn't have a whole bunch of money, but I was able to buy the nice dining room set over here with my profits. So I was doing better my second time out with investing. So I go to school on Wednesday and Thursday. Here's the thing. After making a video on how to remove your negativity, your bad luck, and then bring your good luck in, I had already been doing that for myself. I've been purging myself when I shower. You can take a salt bath, a salt lemon bath, or put it in water and pour it over your head in the shower. I lay down, I put a white light through my body from the top of my head all the way down the middle of my body, down through my feet, out my feet into Mother Earth, and then back up again. It's a way to psychically clean your chakras. And then I hold my tech tight when I go to bed, and I call to my spirit guides and my guardian. And so I began thinking, I really want to work more, but I want some easier assignments like I've had last year and the year before. And I thought about this one child that I had gone to help one day. I went in the office, and there he was in a wheelchair. You're going to be with this young man today. This is his first day. And it was a very easy, perfectly nice day. However, there's a lot of walking. So I started thinking about him again. Sure enough, the phone rang like half an hour later. I was in bed. It was like 9 o'clock, giving me this 4-day assignment with this boy in the wheelchair. So Wednesday I go with him, and we're outside, and he can't really play outside, so he just wants me to push him all around, everywhere. And plus I have to take him to the bathroom, and then we have to walk to resource room twice a day, and then we have to go to specials, music, art, whatever it is. And turns out I did more walking working with that one child than I normally do when I'm conducting an entire classroom. So that day I did 3 miles. 3 miles. Oh, and we took the elevator. But there were still a few times I had to take the steps. And so I did a total of 50 to 60 steps. I was dead tired when I got home. That's okay. I laid down at 5:30, took a little nap, got up, did a few things, and then went back to bed. The next day, I walked another 2 point whatever miles. I added it up, and it turned out to be 6 miles in those 2 days that I ended up walking. And that's good for me. It's really good for me. But 6 miles in 2 days is a lot. So there was no school on Friday. It's the end of the quarter. Also, we're having another winter storm 3 days after we've already had one, with another 6 to 10 inches predicted. We got piles and piles of snow out here, once again in the parking lot. Management is not, for whatever reason, I don't know, we have a new manager now, and the vendors are not coming to shovel the sidewalk or the parking lot or my front porch several times a day. I don't know what's going on, you guys. If they've raised their prices and they simply just don't want to utilize them as much, I don't like it. My neighbor put in a maintenance request to have his front door area shoveled. They even came and shoveled his porch, and I thought, okay, whoa, wait a minute. Why is he getting special treatment? I don't want to be jealous, but he's an able-bodied man. And I asked if he could shovel in front of my garage, and he said no. So I didn't let it get to me, and I thought, you know, I still have to keep claiming my good fortune. You have to. You cannot have blessings come in if you do not claim how grateful you are for everything that you do have. That's just the way it works. But we're also having bitter cold, like 22 degrees below zero. It's supposed to go, let's see, it was 14 below zero on Thursday. Today I think it's, yesterday it was 18 below zero. Today it's supposed to be like 22 or more below zero, and could be even colder tomorrow, which is Sunday. There's no school on Monday because it's the end of the quarter. So Friday and Monday, they're giving the teacher comp days to get their work done. Tuesday, we could have really, really, really bitter cold like we haven't had since I moved here over 20 years ago. If that happens, there won't be any school. And the teacher had an email up on the board that said, send Chromebooks home with the students and tell them how to get to their website for your classroom to do their work on Tuesday if there is no school. So that's remote learning. I love that. I think it's about time. So I didn't go out yesterday. I don't know if I'm going to go out today. I'm drinking from yesterday's coffee grounds because I'm out of my little sticks of instant coffee I take to work. And something came to my mind the other morning as I was waking up. And I think it's important that we become aware. I've said this, and there is a man who's a pioneer and understanding the behaviors of people that do have traumas and they develop into narcissists. They have codependent narcissistic traits and behaviors. We need to be aware of this. I know I don't have my Patreon completed yet. I need to work on making at least my first video for Patreon this weekend. So, you can make me accountable. Let me know you're looking forward to it. You want to learn more about red flags. All right. I have over 30 years of living with codependent narcissistic types of people. And that's part of the reason why I am who I am. I am who I am today, okay? The wounded healer. Plus, it's in my chart. Now, in looking back at more things that went on with my ex, and the things that were happening from the very beginning, I had a lot of things come to my mind, like flashbacks, just so fast, this and this and this and this. And I didn't write it down when I got up, so I don't remember all those things, but I did go back to the beginning and start to look at things that were happening from the very beginning. I want to share this with you today, okay? If you've ever heard the expression rubbing elbows with someone, okay, you know that means you are sharing their energy, their energetic field. If someone's trying to get close to a celebrity or a wealthy person, or make friends with the CEO, they want to rub elbows. They want to connect. That's to get what they perceive to be good energy. It may not be, but they want to hobnob with certain types of people. When I was taking my hypnotherapy course, my teacher said that if you were to hang out with someone who drove a BMW and had a nice high income, and you hung out with them on almost a daily basis, after a couple of months, their energy would start to rub off on you. And you would probably start to either feel more confident or make more money or get a raise. It would rub off on you and you could benefit. Now, you can also benefit from practicing positive self-talk. But when you're with a toxic person, and you have to constantly do that, again, it's a little draining. So, in looking at all of the bad luck that happened, I'm now able to look at his chart, which I'd like to pull it out and show you, but I know that there's an aspect in his 6th house that shows addiction. I've mentioned this before. And that looks across to the 12th house of endings and losses. It had something to do with overindulgences. Now, even though it indicated sex because Scorpio was there, you have to remember that anyone who has an addiction, it's not just one thing. It permeates every single aspect of their life. They cannot manage their money properly. Their emotions, their behavior, the way they react to things. No! On and on and on. Your personal life, your relationship, your money. Reactions to people. How many friends do they have? They probably only have one friend who has the same type of negative thought patterns that they have. So now I had a boyfriend some years before I decided to marry. And in looking back at it now, I know he was definitely codependent and narcissistic. But he reached out to me and we became friends, and he invited me over for dinner, and it was a really good dinner. I had a bigger trailer than him, but you know, I was young and I was alone. He had a small Silver Streak Airstream. Yeah. But I ended up actually giving up my place and moving in with him. But he still had trouble paying for just the lot rent. And then when he'd get a note on the door, he would complain that management was being ridiculous. You'll get your money, blah, blah, blah. I was embarrassed. It's embarrassing to be with some grown man like that, a man in a man's world who doesn't want to work. And he was a pothead, a self-admitted pothead. And this was in California. I don't know if it was legal or illegal. But he loved music and he was talented, and so, you know, I got into my relationship with him because of that. And he was friendly and he was outgoing, but he was also very promiscuous. So I finally get out of that, which was not pleasant. He was very mean and rude and insulting, but I had someone with me, so he didn't try to do anything. Be quiet, Jade. And then fast forward, I get into a stupid affair with someone who I thought was attractive. And then along comes the man who wants to marry me. And he sees in the cards, because he was a tarot reader and he learned how to do magic, that I was involved with someone, but that he was going to wait for an opening and he was going to step in. And sure enough, I had, decided to block this other guy who was also becoming very, very, I had seen him out with 2 other girls on different occasions. And I thought, this is just enough. It's time to end it. And so I've been carrying around a fender in the back of my Plymouth Arrow, which I purchased from my sister, and the fender was bent. And we're in Denny's because we're working there. And he's sitting at the counter. He's got the day off. And he starts talking to me. Now, he had an accent. He's from Peru. But he offers to help me. And now, this is a man who he's an Aquarius. He's got a humanitarian side to him. And he does like to help people that are in trouble. And I knew, he had been looking at me and trying to strike a conversation with me. And he says, do you need to change the fender on the side of your car? I see you're driving around with that in the back. I said, yeah. He said, I can fix it. I can change it. I said, really? He said, yeah, give me the key. So he goes out, and I don't know if he had the tools, but his nephew was the cook at that restaurant. So I think he goes over to his house, gets the tools, comes back. About an hour or so later, he's taken the old dented fender off and puts on the new fender I got from the junkyard, which is a different color. I don't care. And yeah, I thought, okay, that to me is a lot better than asking me out on a date, buying me dinner, and then expecting me to open my legs. I never liked that. So basically I quit dating for a while until I got involved with this tall, dark, handsome guy that I was having an affair with. All right. Young and dumb. I've admitted it before. So we begin to slowly date. First he asked me out to the park and we have a visit and we're sitting there and we're talking, getting to know each other. Who do you think shows up at the park but the guy that I had blocked and was no longer going to be seeing? Don't ask me how he knew. Was keeping tags on me, had a tracker on my car maybe, I don't know. But he pulls up into that park and he's driving around, he's going slow. And my husband-to-be that I was sitting there talking to is saying, you know, that's him, isn't it? Yeah, he's not good for you. I'm sure that guy would have been just as, well, worse for me actually than the man I ended up marrying. The man I ended up marrying was faithful because I told him, if you ever cheat on me, I'll divorce you. And so that is not something that the codependent narcissist wants. And unfortunately, because of their insecurities, they do play all kinds of mind games with you. They're always paranoid. They're always fearful and insecure that they're going to lose the one that finally said yes. But as we were dating, he was asking all the right questions. Do you want to get married? I said, yes. You know, do you want to travel? He liked to travel. I said, yes, it would be nice to travel. Do you want children? And so we were talking about all of these important things. When do you want to have them? I said, well, maybe after 2 years of us being together. And he said, oh, well, I was thinking maybe 1 year. I said, no, I don't think that's quite long enough. And I was right. So things moved pretty fast. He was very pushy. And after just a few dates, he declared his desire to marry me. And I said I was a little shocked, you know, it was kind of soon. We hadn't really gotten to know each other. I'd been over to his nephew's house, and so I'd gotten to know his extended family that was over here in America and where he was living, and they were all very supportive of us dating and being together. So, unlike the other one, he wasn't keeping me a secret or playing games. He was very forthright, very upfront. So we continued to date, and this went on for a couple of months, and then he declared, you know, he really wanted to get engaged. You know, we'd have to get a ring. Somehow we talked about a ring. We went to the mall and we started looking at rings. I didn't yet have an engagement ring, I don't think. But he proposed, you know, and he said the things that women want to hear. Now, he looked like he was somewhat ambitious. He was a very good worker, very methodical, you know, nose to the grindstone. And he was already 42 years old. So I did say, after a couple of months, I did say yes, but I wasn't exactly sure when we were going to set the date. And he began to become pushier and pushier, to the point where he said, if you postpone and change your mind, I'll unalive myself. And he got very upset and started driving faster than normal on his little dirt bike, which I was on the back of. And I told him to slow down. He was scaring me. But I don't think he did. Maybe for a second, but yeah, he was just trying to, I thought, you're putting my life in jeopardy here. And so I told my mom what he did, what he said, which is something that my mom had done several years earlier. And my father had told me, we're not going to respond to this anymore. I told her, if you're going to do it, well, that's between you and God. But we're not going to ruin the rest of our life, which is so sad to say, what you want us to do. We're not. We're going to go on with our lives, and we'll be sad that you've made that choice, but it's your choice to make, and that's between you. How horrible is it to wish for somebody to have their entire existence on this planet for the rest of their days feeling sad and guilty about the person who took their life? It's sadistic. So I told him later that because of what he did, I was even more concerned and more cautious about postponing the date. So then, of course, he started apologizing, and we were going out several times a week anyway, and apologizing, and I'll never do that again. And so I figure, okay, everybody deserves a second chance. He seems to have more good things to offer than bad things right now, but the damage had already been done. The hook in my gut had been planted. And this is a psychic binding. Jade is here. So we plan the celebration, and I get little cards, and I start inviting people, and then everybody at work gets jealous. Why aren't you inviting all of us, including the manager? I'm like, wow, this is a TV sitcom moment where everybody really wants to be, friends. And that's a rare thing. It was an interesting, good time there, even though it was very, very stressful work. We were all in it together. So many, many people came, and then having the reception at my mother's house. I'd only purchased a cake and a few little things and a couple of glasses. But to see my mom, who was the alcoholic codependent narcissist, sitting on the floor like a puddle of mush, or a 2-year-old sulking in the corner, was very embarrassing. However, when someone announced that she had a flat tire on her little car in her driveway, my new partner, husband, who she did not like, she had met him and she had criticized him every which way to Sunday, took off his jacket, went out to the driveway, and changed her tire. She was impressed. So, in the beginning, it was very difficult to know who this person really was. I had not really spent enough time with him. I saw some very good, helpful traits, and he won my mother over. But we went to get our apartment, and he was complaining and criticizing. The apartment I had chosen, he said, was too fancy and too expensive. It wasn't. It was just a somewhat nice, decent apartment that had a pool and a fitness room. It was just a basic 1-bedroom apartment, but it had a dishwasher, and he had taken me to some really old, dumpy apartments. because the people he knew were from another country, and they were living in these old apartments that were dark and small. So ours was bright and cheery, even though the carpet was blue. I didn't like that. And when it rained, we had a leak, which got our sofa wet, but it wasn't an expensive sofa. So we go to apply, and I needed money to pay for a processing fee. I didn't think I had any extra money. I look in my wallet. All of a sudden, there was the $20 there, the $20 bill. And I asked him, "Did you put that there?" He said, "No, I don't want this apartment." But there it was. And I have a very good memory. Very good memory. I could not figure out when that $20 bill got in there or why I hadn't noticed it. And all in those days, everybody used cash. There was no debit card. So I figured it was a sign. I paid for the processing fee. We got approved. We moved in. All right. So now before that, we had been staying in a old hotel that had been converted into apartments while we were awaiting the ceremony to be married. For about a month we were there, and they wanted us to stay, and I said no. No thank you. And the pool was empty, no water was in it. And we're talking in the desert in California. You got to have access to a pool to go out and enjoy the outside and be in the water. So we move in as he's constantly griping and moaning and complaining. And I'm constantly trying to console him. I deserve a nice place, okay? I've been living in a hotel for women. Then we were in this other hotel. Come on. I've got a nice little dining room table here. We've got a dishwasher. You know, the washer and dryer is right outside the door. We had a patio that was enclosed with a cement wall. A little tiny opening in the middle. Okay, so it wasn't long after that, probably within the first couple of months, he comes back in after going out to go to work. He comes back in and says, "My dirt bike is gone." What? My dirt bike is gone. It's not where I parked it. It's gone. It had been stolen. We had gone and purchased a little Toyota Tercel hatchback at that time. And so I thought, wow, this is not good. This is just not a good sign. First of all, I'm living with someone who's just constantly griping and complaining about spending all our money on this big fancy apartment, which it wasn't. Why do you not want your wife to be in a decent apartment? Oh, we could be spending this money on a house. And I thought, can you just stop? So, you know, I was in the habit of praying. In those days, I was praying. I still didn't quite, I did know how to make some positive affirmations. I did. I had already learned about positive affirmations and visualization. And so in a couple of weeks, we got a call from a guy who said that he had found our dirt bike. He got the registration number. He had apparently been smart enough to get the numbers that were on the bike registered, and his name was under it. And so we got the call, and he said, "This is a very desirable dirt bike for dirt biking around here, and somebody took it for a joy ride, and when it ran out of gas, they just left it. They abandoned it. So I have it if you want to come and get it. We're like, wow, what an angel you are. What a blessing you are. So we got the bike back, and we met this wonderful man, and we exchanged pleasantries. Okay, so fast forward maybe a month or two later, we go out to get or we're coming home to pull in and park in our covered parking space labeled with our number on it, on the covered parking and on the space, and there's one or two guys there parked in our space fixing their car. And I'm thinking, why me? I'm asking, what are you doing? Why would you park in a space that's marked clearly for a resident? Do you live here? No, I'm visiting, but I gotta fix my, I said, well, we need to park our car here. He said, well, I can't move it right now. As soon as I get my brakes changed and I said, will you hurry up, please? Or, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna call the cops? And my husband was very afraid of the cops. So he was not wanting me to do that at all. He didn't feel good about this guy. And he said, let's just wait for them to finish. These were some of the things that began to happen right away. There was a multitude of things. I used to say that I'm constantly chasing and saving our assets, okay? Putting out fires pretty much off and on for the remainder of the time that we were together. Until I stopped giving him my money, which was my energy, my time and energy that I put into the relationship, being the primary caregiver, and not giving him any more of my energy by cutting him off money-wise, which, he had reneged on the agreement. I had offered to contribute, not knowing what type of a person he was, until I get pregnant. No, we still need the money. So being like a codependent, I guess, of course I wanted to be a good team member, a good partner, and continue, but it got harder and harder until one day I finally said, no. I'm in a deep depression, and I'm starting to come out of it, and I'm done with this, and that was a part of me healing. But this is unfortunately what happens when you continue to rub elbows and live with people who are toxic. They have an addiction, or they are codependent, they're greedy, they're selfish, they're lazy, they don't want to put forth any extra effort, they make excuses as to why they can't, they insult you, they turn it all on you. And, I think about Croy Bierman and I can't think of her name now with the ring light in my face. The blonde from Housewives of Atlanta. He supported her addiction for gambling. And yes, he's responsible for doing that. But with the very expensive house and all the children and continuing to let her gamble, they were completely financially ruined. She had basically sucked him dry, but he allowed it. It could have ended sooner rather than later. I believe he's still in denial. He's having meltdowns about the fact that their life is destroyed. For some reason, she's discarding him because he just doesn't have millions of dollars anymore. Okay, so sometime after that, maybe a month or two, in the summer, we get a bicycle and we put it on our patio. We're planning to get a grill. We put the bicycle on the patio in the corner. Like I said, it has 4 walls with a little opening in the center. And we get up one day, or we come home, I think it was in the morning, we get up and my husband says to me, the bicycle's gone. I'm like, what? Our bicycle's been stolen. I'm like, oh my God, why is all this stuff happening? Ever since I married this person, these are not good omens. Okay, we're having a stroke of bad luck. So I continued to do my affirmations, and at that time I had been a member of a healing ministry, and they sent us some anointing oil, and it was amazing how he really believed in that very, very much. And we anointed our wallets and other things, and sure enough, he went out to the laundry and he comes back in, he says, look what I found. I said, are you joking? Where'd you get that? He said, not. We were out of money at that time. We were starting to have more serious financial problems with the economy where we were. A $50 bill. Where? I said, in the dryer. He wholeheartedly believed in that anointing oil. And I know it had been oil that was prayed over. And he, like I said, he'd been trained in tarot cards and magic. Okay, so another time, I'm laying in the bed, feeling like I'm dreaming. And I'm seeing this shadow. I hear the patio door open, and I feel somebody coming in, a shadow person is coming in, and they open my top drawer of the dresser, and they take something out, they close it, and they leave. And I'm like paralyzed with fear the whole time I'm laying there. I get up in the morning, I open the drawer, and I look for my little ring box that had my great aunt's wedding ring, which I was not wearing. I had inherited it. It was gone. And I go on and on and on about the fact that this is gone. I saw this shadow person come in. I think while we were gone, somebody came in. But how would they know to go directly to my drawer and pull it out? My suspect became my husband within a day of me calming down. And I realized, so I went on and on and on every single day, looking and exclaiming, where could it be? This doesn't make sense. And finally, after probably 3 weeks at least, he gets up and he goes to the bedroom, and I follow him, and he puts his hand underneath a pile of clothes or whatever and pulls it out. I'm like, what's it doing there? How did that get there? You must have put it there. You don't remember. That was the first gigantic red flag. So my next video will be about the end days of a narcissist, when they decide to break it off and go look for another supply, and they're getting older. I hope this has been helpful. I plan on making a couple more videos, and I'll get dressed up. Have a good day.